Good evening, preppers. This evening, we're going to change gears a little bit and talk about the most important attribute to prepping, by far the most important lesson. And of course, time is short, especially with this particular trait that we need to talk about. All right, so what is it? What is the most important lesson? Well, it's not, as you might think, food and water. Of course, we have to have that. You have to have that to survive. It may not be security and your ability to be able to use like firearms or even shelter. Now, by far, the number one important lesson you must have, and I can't tell you how many times I've tried to put this out, and people even disagree with me on this, is community. It must be community. Because I'll tell you right now, let's say you have the shelter, let's say you have all the food in the world and all the water and all the security and everything you need, and you survive, and you're alone, even if you and your family are alone, then what's the point? Just mere survival? Since when in the human race do we actually just shoot for, mere survival? Let's just survive. Now, of course, we want to be able to survive the crap hitting the fan. And don't get me wrong, the crap is going to hit the fan. But be able to depend on each other and help each other out. And you ready for this? Love each other is by far more important than simply just surviving. We actually have to sustain a healthy lifestyle. And you've probably seen some of these people before, and maybe you are one of these people where you're so introverted. And I'm not picking on introverts. There's lots of introverts in my family, but you can still love each other being introverts. But some people are so far out there that they picture themselves, or maybe are already so far off grid, living on their own, and they want to live that way the rest of their life. To each their own, of course. But what kind of life is that? You're going to die alone. And I would personally rather die with my family than say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just survive by myself and off we go. That's not living. That's not life. Now, especially in a time right now where politically speaking, this country, this world is so politically divided. And there's so much misinformation out there and disinformation. There's so much arguing even about some of the simplest things. You bring up certain names or certain things that's happened in this country in the last 2 years, and you're going to get an argument and a fight. Even among the people who on this channel will fight amongst each other because the love is disappearing. And that is frightening to me more than a lot of things that are actually happening and taking place. We see the food production sites being blown up or exploded in fires, or we see people fighting each other without love. I think the love part's even worse because, you know what, if that food plant blows up, you can get your own chickens. You can grow your own garden. But if you can't love someone, then what's it all worth? Now, the last thing I ever want to do is pick on anybody. I'm not that kind of person. I don't like picking on people. I try to constructively judge people, I guess is the best way to put it. That's just my personality, and I'm sure some of you are the same way. But I do it constructively, not necessarily for them, but for myself, and say, would I do it that way? No, I don't think I would, and here's why. I've seen some other channels that are set up where they talk about security for their family, and they won't release their name, for example. And that's, again, to each their own. It's their channel. They can do whatever they want to, but I do release my name. It's Eric Wormsley. I've said that many, many times on the channel. Now, I won't release my address. I think that makes it a little bit too easy. But it comes down to this, and this is really, really simple. If you put yourself on YouTube, you can be found. Now, you can either be found by a person stalking you or want to take your stuff, or you could be found by the government. And it's so much so that I almost kind of giggle a little bit because some of these people don't really understand intelligence. Not intelligence like how intelligent you are, but like military strategies and intelligence. And they'll do things like, well, I'll never release my name, which I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I'll never release where I'm at. But then they'll do something like a meetup. We're having our meetup coming up, and I'm more than happy to share where the meetup's going to be, give you my name. If you're coming, you'll meet my family. I really love meeting people. And I'll get back to that in just a second. But when they actually have their meetups, they won't even call it a meetup. They won't even call it prepping because they think they're hiding it from the government. Give me a break. And if the person really knew anything about security at all, they would know the government already knows everything about you. Because I don't care if your computer is on or not. I don't care if your phone is on or not. Have you heard about metadata? Have you heard about the NSA and all the things they do? They know everything about you, everything. There's only very specific things you can do to keep it out of their ears. Very, very specific things. And when you say you're going to have a meetup, let's call it something else, you're deceiving yourself. And so having a meetup is a great thing, but don't deceive yourself and think you're keeping it all hidden. I'll say this to everybody who has a YouTube channel. If you think you're going to have a YouTube channel and people can't find you, you're deceived. That's all there is to it. And so you have to balance it. I like people, I guess, but I don't ever want to let people know where I'm at because of security. So therefore, I'm just going to hold up inside my house and I'll just do my videos and everything will be fine. They're going to look, the majority of the people, 99% of the people are fine not knowing where you live. But those are the people you're not worried about. It's that 1%. And that 1% will find you. In fact, my daughter and I, my eldest daughter, we love finding people where people live for YouTube channels. It is really easy and really fun, mind you. It's not hard to find out where we live. And that's why we have things in place here. And if you're actually depending on trying to shut off your house to the world and thinking people won't find you, then you're actually putting your hopes in the wrong thing. You need to prepare for somebody coming to your house because it's going to happen. It doesn't matter if you're a YouTube channel or not. If you're just a regular person and you won't let people know where you live because you have a stockpile, people will still find you. People will come to your home and hopefully get some of your stockpile. If you think you're buying stuff for your stockpile and you don't think the government knows, they know. They absolutely know. So all of that is moot. You may as well try to keep a little bit of security. Don't simply just give it out. But understand that they know. People out there, they know where you live. People out there know your routines. And I personally would rather actually have the ability to watch what's going on, situational awareness, than depend on simply the ambiguity of trying to pretend that people don't know who you are, where you live. I've actually emailed some of these other YouTube channels because I'm a social kind of guy. I love people. And it's like, look, you're a prepper channel. I'm a prepper channel. Let's talk. Maybe we can actually get together. And I've had a lot of them say, we actually want to do a co-op where we talk with each other and go on each other's channel. And I'm all for it. It won't be until winter because I have so much stuff going on in the summertime. But then I've had other ones say, nope. I mean, like one word's, nope, won't talk to you. Won't give you my name. It's security. I'm like, are you kidding me? You really think people's not going to find you? All right. So all of that is, again, it's your channel. It's your home. You can do whatever you want to. But I would argue that you are trying to shut yourself off in a situation where it's actually making it more difficult for you to meet people. And meeting people and having community is what life is all about. And I'll kind of prove it. How many times have you ever met someone who is completely socially isolated, so much so that their family doesn't interact with anybody else? And when you meet with them, there's even like the simplest of things that they do in their life where you kind of like scratch your head. Why do you do it that way? That's weird. Having done it this way? Well, that's how we've always done it. And it doesn't work very well. Or they actually have certain ways of saying things and doing things. But here's the thing. They're so socially isolated, they kind of think everybody is that way. But when you realize you meet them, everybody doesn't do it that way. Everybody sees you as basically being very unique. Now, uniqueness is great, but not to the point where social isolation is causing problems in your family. As humans, we are social, period. Even introverts, social. And now people have phobias, don't want to meet other people, and I get that. But as humans, we are meant to be with each other. We are meant to depend on one another. And I know there's a lot of people who would say, you know what, I really admire the Amish. I mean, even though the Amish in reality have their problems. But it's not the Amish. It's not having the beard. It's not using the horse and buggy. It's the community. Because let's be honest, outside of the Amish or even certain areas too, like the Latter-day Saints actually have a lot of community as well. Outside of that, certain churches have a community, but outside of that, people long for community. And up here in Michigan, there's all kinds of things you can actually do to get community. Like there's the Moose Lodge. I've never been to that. There's American Legion. There's a lot of different ways you can actually get the community without actually attending different events, like in a church, for example. We are meant to be social people. And if you are deceiving yourself and thinking that you can shut yourself off from society to try to survive, number one, you're going to be looked at as that kooky person in that house who doesn't socialize with anybody. And when things get crazy, they'll probably come to your house first because there's something going on in there. But if you actually are a social person, not only will you actually have the community of your neighborhood, all people sticking together, but if some people in your community decide, you know what, it's time to ransack a house, and hopefully that'll never happen. If you're not social with them, they're probably going to ransack your house first. You're probably making it worse on yourself. And all of this is just a weird conversation. But it really is so important. The most important lesson you must have as a prepper is to have that community. And that's actually one of the reasons, by the way, we have our meetup. It isn't simply just to meet a lot of you, which we are super excited about. But I can't tell you how many people, especially in this area, are like, hey, you're in Central Michigan? We would love to meet you. But even more importantly, I can't tell you how many people we meet. And by the way, practically every day we go out somewhere, there's another person following their channel saying, oh, hey, Goshen Prepping, I know you, which I love. I'll sit down and talk with them for a half hour. I love people. But they want to be able to meet with each other as well, have a support system. And so I have stressed this many times, if wherever you are in the country, wherever you are in the world, you need to have a support system. You need to get with some people. You need to set it up. So you're going to maybe put an ad up at the local some of your local stores or something, camping store or whatever, and say, hey guys, I'm a prepper. I just want to actually establish a prepping community. You will have people respond. Because right now, with these turbulent times and the gas prices and inflation and looming war and all these things happening, people are longing for, more than anything else, having that community. And since a lot of people's community was cut off as of 2020, they have not reestablished very well. It's more vital right now than any other time that you have other people to socialize with, to run ideas off with, to barter with, to exchange ideas, to support each other, to get each other's back. It is that important. So if you're coming to our meetup and you live near us, you're part of the community that's actually here. But if you're not, you really need to try to find communities where you're at. Again, a very different video today, but it's so important that don't be deceived in thinking that you won't give your name out, people won't know where you're at. People will know. The government knows, and people will be able to find you and your stuff too. You need to have other means to protect yourself rather than simply just putting a blanket over your head and saying, nope, not giving you my name. It's not going to work. All right. Anyway, interesting video today, and I hope you agree with this. And if anything, hopefully you watch this video, and at the bottom, you'll say, you don't have to give me your address, but in the comments, you'll say, you know what? I live in such and such Minnesota. Who here would actually love to meet up with me? Or I live in such and such Kentucky or Texas or wherever, United Kingdom. And I would like to actually meet with some other preppers, because I'll be honest with you, as we're inundated with so many emails and messages, which I love getting every single one of them, and I try to answer them if I can. Probably the number one thing, I don't take a poll, but probably the number one thing that people say is, I really would like to have a community here, but I don't think where I live there's any preppers. And I've found many times other people from that same location say the same thing. There's no preppers where I live. And these are people from the same location. There are preppers where you live. There's preppers everywhere, because people see that times are getting tough. People see, I forgot to turn my timer over, that time is getting short. Look, we're out of time. So you need to do it now, before it happens to the point where you're not going to be able to depend on anybody. So get with a community, develop meetups in your location. And honestly, if there's any computer guys out there who would like to help me set this up for my webpage or something so people can actually set up communities and locations, then by all means, I'm happy to host that on my website. But time is short indeed, and you need to get with a community or start a community now so you can all help protect each other, not just you and your family.